Let's fill the following unit circle. Unit circle, so we have 0 radians or 0 degrees here, and the coordinates of this point is 1 0, and pi over 2 straight up, so this is 0 1, and here negative 1 0, pi radians or 180 degrees. This is 3 pi over 2 radians or 270 degrees, so the coordinates 0 negative 1. Now let's focus on first quadrant. Here pi over 2 0, so halfway would be pi over 4, okay, 45 degrees. That's the bisector of this angle, pi over 2. And the opposite of pi over 4 here, this is pi over 4. In the second quadrant we have 3 pi over 4. Third quadrant 5 pi over 4. Fourth quadrant 7 pi over 4. And let's write down the coordinates for on this unit circle. So pi over 4 in the middle, so this will be same for both x and y, so root 2 over 2 comma root 2 over 2, both positive. In the second quadrant, as we know, when we go to the left, x is negative, but go up, so y will be positive. So this is negative root 2 over 2 comma root 2 over 2. Third quadrant here, we have to go left, that means x negative, down, y also negative. So this is negative root 2 over 2 comma negative root 2 over 2. Fourth quadrant, positive root 2 over 2, negative root 2 over 2. Okay, now let's go for this angle in between pi over 4 and 0. That's not exactly in the middle, but this is standard angle, pi over 6 or 30 degrees, pi over 6. And look at in the second quadrant, that's pi over 6 straight in the third quadrant. Okay, in the second quadrant would be here pi over 6 and 7 pi over 6, and here all the way 11 pi over 6. So once we get one angle in the first quadrant, 180 or pi minus pi over 6, that's pi over 6, pi plus pi over 6, 7 pi over 6. In the fourth quadrant, 2 pi minus pi over 6. Okay, 2 pi minus whatever the angle in the first quadrant is in the fourth quadrant. And for pi over 6, this is the x part is longer, so root 3 over 2, y is shorter, 1/2. Now we'll have the same, but x is negative, so negative root 3 over 2 comma 1/2. And here both negatives, so negative root 3 over 2 comma negative 1/2. Here x is positive, so root 3 over 2, y is negative 1/2. Now then let's go for another angle. Here is pi over 3 or 60 degrees, and pi minus pi over 3 is 2 pi over 3, and this is 4 pi over 3, just pi plus whatever the angle in the first quadrant, 2 pi minus pi over 3, so pi over 3. And this one has the same like pi over 6, but in opposite, just flip, so 1/2 comma root 3 over 2. Here x is negative 1/2 root 3 over 2, both negatives, so negative 1/2 minus root 3 over 2. Here x is positive 1/2 and y is negative root 3 over 2. Okay, and as we know, these coordinates x, y, they refer to cosine of the angle, comma, sine of the angle. And if we want to find tangent, then y over x, that will give us tangent. And reciprocal of x is secant, reciprocal of y is cosecant, and x over y would be cotangent. Suppose we have to write the value of somehow, let's say cosine 2 pi over 3. Then here is the 2 pi over 3. Cosine means first coordinate, so that would have been from here, okay, -1/2.